Hey everyone, it's Anna J. Wellner with the Bookish Nook on the Author Library, sponsored by Creative Edge Publicity. And with me today, I have Paul Bahou. Paul, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Anna. Yeah, I'm Paul Bahou, and I am the person you'll be hearing talk today. How you doing?
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. And I am so intrigued in the book that you have out now that just released in January. It's Sunset Distortion. And I mean, it packs quite a punch. Intergalactic journey, infinite life. How would you describe the genre of this book?
I would consider it comedic sci-fi. So,
Okay.
not too dense, not too heavy on the science. It's mostly just the window dressing for just a kind of wild ride.
So just take it for what it is and have fun. Just a great, fun, immersive read where you can escape for a few hours and just enjoy the ride.
Yeah, enjoy the ride. It's really just like life, just enjoy the ride.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So, what was the most fun that you had writing such an interesting book? What were some parts that you were just like, whoa?
I'm a big fan of writing banter. Love me some good
Oh,
banter,
I love it.
so when you're hanging out, you're writing by yourself, it's almost like you're having a conversation with yourself. And
Yes.
when you create your characters, and every character, even if they're based off of someone or even amalgamation of people, there's a kernel of you in every single character because you're writing from experience, right? There's no escape from that. So
I
it
know.
could be one part of your brain talking to another part of your brain, going in circles. And I really enjoy that part. Just the lighthearted, humorous aspect of the book. It's a buddy comedy in space. It's definitely nothing super heavy to drag you down, but it does have its heavy elements for sure.
Sometimes, I don't know if you did this, but sometimes I practice my dialogue out loud, and it is like I'm actually having a conversation with myself. Like if there was a fly on the wall, if anybody walked into my house or had, if, the FBI really is watching, God bless them because they are getting some really interesting conversations, and they're probably like, this chick has some issues because I've got I'm talking in an accent and for part of the dialogue, and then the other part is Texan, and then just to see if it makes sense. Do you ever do that? Do you ever practice the dialogue out loud just to make sure that it makes sense, whenever it's spoken?
Absolutely. So the story is about Laser.
Okay,
Laser
I'm
is
not the only
is
one. I'm relieved.
Oh yeah, so Laser is he's an '80s rocker, played in a thrash metal band, and his dreams never really came to fruition. And now he plays in a cover band on the Sunset Strip, right down your alley, Anna. Really, I
Oh
can see
yeah.
your vibe. So, but he befriends a character named Streak, who's a floating octopus with an English accent. And so I'll be having these conversations back and forth, and flipping back from just my mellow Southern California drawl to my really bad English accent that my wife says is so bad it could be considered racist. But
Oh, please let me hear it, please. I'm dying. I'm dying because I'd love to hear it.
Thank you. It's not too bad, right? I mostly get it from watching a lot of Love Island. Love Island. People get a bit muggy on that show. Try to find the one and all, but it's not too bad, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, no, it's not bad at all. I mean, I think that you and I could have quite the conversation. I mean, we could go on like this for the rest of the interview if you wanted to, but people will probably think that we're crazy.
Click.
Okay, here is the best kept secret in the literary world. As authors, we all have a little bit of the different kind of personality. And whether you want to label that as crazy or out of the box or creative genius, which I
my mom,
prefer.
my mom would always refer to me as strange and unusual.
I like that too. That's what I try to tell people. I'm like, authors, we're just crazy. I mean, we think up some wild stuff and have conversations to ourselves. I mean, any sane person on the outside looking in would probably think, that we're crazy. But for us, it makes sense because it's all part of the writing process.
I think your brain has to be a little off center
Yeah.
to
Yep.
create anything,
Oh yeah.
whatever it is.
I mean,
If you,
yeah. Look at some of the most prolific writers in history. I mean, Edgar Allan Poe, or Proust, or Ernest Hemingway. I
yeah,
mean, all of these guys, and I know I'm leaving out women, but well, I mean, let's just say, who am I trying? Emily Dickinson. I mean, there's always a splash of madness in with the creativity, I think.
absolutely. It keeps it spicy.
There you go. Yeah, I like that. I
Oh,
like that.
otherwise, you'd just be, everyone just be reading IKEA manuals in their spare time. That's no fun.
Oh, so I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that you are either a pantser or a planter. What would you agree with that?
A what?
A planter or a pantser? So do you come up with a plot for the book, or do you just let it take you where it goes?
The answer is both.
So
So Sunset
planter.
Distortion. So Sunset Distortion is going to be a 5-part series. The first book, its subtitle is "The Pyramid at the End of the World," and I have written out the entire story through all 5 books just in a rough form. And so what I do is then, once I have the major plot points that are going to carry Laser through the series and
Yep.
all of his trials and tribulations in outer space and beyond. Um, so that's all there, and I know where I'm writing to. I like to know where my end point is, where my destination is, and then when you have that, it's easier to me to kind of connect the dots and to
Yep.
work your way from point A to point B all the way down to
Right.
point Z, because your character, they're written well enough to where you can put them in a situation and they can just do what they're going to do. They're going to react. You don't have to write your way out of or into anything, because it's like, well, how would this person react in a room full of aliens dressed like pirates, talking in pirate brogue, chasing him down, yelling "Armady"? How is this guy who plays in the rock band on the Sunset Strip going to react to this situation, being chased by a giant dog monster with spider legs? Swinging through a town.
Okay.
What's it gonna do?
Okay. Is this all in the book? Is this
This is
all
all.
in this?
This is just part 1.
Oh my. Okay. Definitely add it to my TBR. Everybody else, if you don't add this to your TBR, like I feel like I have FOMO, fear of missing out. Like if I don't read this book, like I really have to see what this is all about, because you have got me so like hyped to figure out what is going on.
And that's what the story's about. What's going on? Why does everybody in space
Oh,
speak English?
great.
Where'd Laser forget his car keys? You know what I mean? It's just the undying questions that need to be answered.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It sounds like just one of those kind of books where you get into it and then, you look at the clock and it's like, oh my God, 5 hours has flown by and I'm like still in this trying to figure out what's going on. So you've already answered my next question, which is if this is part of the series or what you're working on in the future. When do you plan to bring us into the next installment of the series? Do you have any plans?
Yeah, so I'm about 50,000 words into part 2. The second book is
Awesome.
called Live from Valhalla. And yeah, I'm working on it pretty diligently, and that's number 2. I've also written a children's book that I just need to get the art kind of squared away. That would probably be my next release, would be the children's book. I wrote it for my daughter.
Cool. Oh, I know that's how my writing journey began, is writing something for my kiddo. So I'm right there with you. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's something you love, and you try to
Right.
combine the things you
Yeah.
love together. And so it's like, I want to have this children's book out so I can read it to her, be like, that's you.
Yes. Yeah, I wrote this for you. I know. Isn't that such a
It's
great
all you,
feeling
kid.
whenever you can create something like that for your kid? And I did start writing it many, many years ago and never had the courage to publish it. And then I went and changed the name to my daughter's name whenever I knew what it was going to be and made
Mhm.
her the main character. And I never even then intended to publish it. And when she was about a year old, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to do it. And then after that, I was hooked. So after you wrote and published Sunset Distortion, is that kind of what it was like for you? Like I'm hooked. Like I'm in this
Well,
writing thing.
so I've been doing a lot of creative stuff for a long time. I played in bands ever since I was in high school. I was in a band called Inverse that toured and put records out, and then that band broke up, and then I had a band called The Infamous They that put just a single record out. Find it on Spotify, give it a listen.
All right.
And then I got tired of trying to rope other people into a creative project, and I said I am sick of trying to have band practices without people showing up. It's too much. So I'd done a lot of paint, everything behind me. I painted all this stuff. This is just kind of a thing I did for a while, and
So
I'd
you
always
were
been a writer. I wrote grants for a living for a very long time. I wrote
uh yeah.
the politics column for Smash Magazine, which is a punk
Yeah.
magazine out here on the West Coast. And I'd always kind of wanted to write a novel, and so the Sunset Distortion series, it would start off as a short story that I wrote in college, and I just developed it into a novel,
You
and
know,
here we are.
people don't realize that when you're and you mentioned, writing legal grant proposals and things like that. People don't realize that even something that sounds that banal and that basic and kind of, you know, professional and boring, it really does help to hone your craft as an author, because that's what I did for a number of years, is write technical manuals and
Yeah,
for big oil and gas corporations, and do and write maintenance manuals for surface water treatment plant. And it seems like those things wouldn't necessarily connect, but in that time of doing that, I got in my 10,000 hours, that's for sure. And
absolutely.
so it's really funny to hear somebody else say that actually, because you do have to be very judicious about everything that you put in there. You have to know your grammar, you have to know your punctuation, you have to know. So there's a great deal of self-editing that you learn in business writing.
How to say it as quickly as possible. You don't want to have flowery fluff kind of stuff in
Right.
there. It needs to get the point across. And so for years, your people have to understand what you're saying and be able to follow directions. For me,
Yeah.
I am trying to convince someone in an office in the state of California's government, building, to give me money to do this project. And you have
Right.
to really craft what you're doing in a way that is as compelling as possible, even though it is incredibly dry.
I know.
So
No, right.
so writing a novel, it's like it's unleashed, and you can just take anything that you want and just put it in there, and it's no big deal. Just go with it.
No,
Express yourself.
it's the same thing with writing technical manuals. It has to be precise, and it has to be easy to follow so that someone doesn't have an accident. I mean, it's very important to get everything right, but it also has to be, very professionally written. And that's where I learned how to edit and sentence structure and all of that, because it had to pass by QC, quality
Right.
control. And before it could go out to Halliburton, Schlumberger, or whoever was purchasing the products that we were building. And so, because my God, you don't want to send it to Schlumberger corporate and it's got, a spelling error, or you've missed a comma or something like that. And then,
Right.
you
And,
get,
and even then,
you
you're
get that.
always going to miss something. You're
I
always
know.
going to miss something. It's
I know,
never going to
right?
be perfect, but as long as it's consistent, it's not a problem. But yeah, you have to learn how to edit. You have to go over
Yeah.
it again and again and knead the dough, shape the clay, and
Yeah.
and and it really kind of sets you up to where when you want to write creatively for fiction or whatever you're doing, that you have that ability to sit down and just make it happen.
Yes, exactly. And I know my editor probably thanks me for I hope she does. Um thanks me for hopefully giving her less work on some projects that I've given to her. But yeah, you can always, guys, don't ever take a writing experience for granted and think that it's not going to play out later in life, because every chance that you have to write and hone your craft, whether it is writing grants or writing operation manuals for scheduled maintenance, there's a chance for you to grow in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So
Life is full of opportunity, and
yes,
sometimes you recognize it and sometimes you don't. But even though it might
right.
not be exactly what you have in your head, it might be adjacent to it or adjacent to what's adjacent to that.
Right.
Take it, run with it,
Absolutely.
see what you can turn it into, and see what it can do for you, because it can
Absolutely.
take you to places you never thought.
Oh, you and I are on the same wavelength today, my friend, because I cannot stand, people say, I'm just going to, fate will provide me the opportunity to, or destiny, or the opportunity will come. No, absolutely not. That is the lazy way out. Go out there, take a chance, make it happen. You have the power to do something amazing. And if you only try. So I see so many authors and so many people in life in general that are just stuck at that threshold of indecision, you know? And the truth is, you'll never know until you leap.
Right. Well, I think all of us are writers in some way, shape, or form, even if we've never put a word down on paper, because
All right.
we have these narratives we tell ourselves. What is my life going to be? How am I going to get to where I envision myself 10 years from now, 20 years from now? What is my journey going to look like? And you people have very elaborate plans, but it's not going to happen that way. It takes a
Right.
lot of hard work and a lot of detours
It
and a lot of
does.
steps back. Mistakes will be made. You will learn from them and you will go forward. But like I
Hopefully.
said, there will be more opportunities. There will always be more opportunities, and they might not look like what you envisioned in your head, but that doesn't mean that they're not worth exploring.
Yes, exactly. Oh, this is a great conversation and highly motivating for any aspiring authors out there who are thinking about publishing a book, or even finishing that first book. I read something that said over 90% of authors or aspiring authors never finish the first draft of their book. And I think that is just so disheartening for me, because I want to know what that story is. I want to hear what it is that you have to say. So, what advice would you give other aspiring authors? I mean, other than what we've already talked about.
The Beatles are the greatest band in the history of music, in my opinion. And people still hate the Beatles. So don't fear what the reaction may be. People will hate it. So just don't worry about that. Someone's going to hate it, but at least they read it, right? Just
That's
put it
true.
out there. Whatever it is, just put it out there. People
That's
will
so
like
true.
it. People will hate it. And if people are engaging with it, I say great. And then just keep putting stuff out. Just keep releasing. Just get your work out into the world. Let it exist in a tangible form, because
Exactly.
it would be an absolute shame if that story that you're working on that has just been swimming in your head for the last 10 years, that you've
Right.
got all these different ideas and how to get it, if it just dies on your computer. Shame. Put it
Exactly.
out there.
Oh, and with that, I say thank you so much for coming on and talking with me today. It has been a blast, inspirational, and I cannot wait to get into this book, Sunset's Distortion. Guys, definitely check it out. I will have the link in the description below so that you can check it out. I mean, it just sounds like a wild ride. I
All
mean,
right. Read it. If you enjoy it, let me know. Everyone's got websites and all the different social media. I'm terrible at social media. I'm the world's worst millennial when it comes to that kind of stuff. I have very little tolerance for it. So find me at facebook.com/Paul Bahou Writes. And you can chat with me. I'll talk to you. We go back and forth on stuff. It'll be a great time.
Dude, that's the other thing that I don't think that people realize, and that we're just, as authors, we're just normal people. I mean, maybe a little crazy, as we discussed before.
A little strange,
but yeah. A little strange, but normal. And I think that social media and podcasts and getting to see the author behind the book, it helps people to understand that we're just, normal people who happen to think very creatively and outside of the box. And it's it humanizes us in a way, because I've seen people say, like, oh my gosh, so and so is following me, and I'm like, but you do realize that they're just like a normal person that writes books, right?
That's it. So come talk to me about books or
semi-normal
music, whatever.
Exactly.
Love a chat. It'll be great.
Hey, Paul, thank you again for coming on the show today. I really, really appreciate it. Everybody else, if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on some great upcoming content. And we'll see you again later. Everyone, stay safe, stay healthy.